I had not stopped loving him. I sent him a text every time I told a lie, sticking to the rules, being a good girl. Even if Stefan, his driver, was the only person who saw the texts, since he was the last person with that phone, I hoped he'd relay the messages. The texts never bounced, anyway, and Stefan knew all about me and how James had abandoned me, so I didn't mind him seeing the messages if he still had the phone in his possession. I hoped they weren't breaking Stefan's heart. He was a nice guy and a friend when I needed one. I figured out how to get a transit card and then caught the Underground to King's Cross, where I had booked 2 nights in a cheap hotel with shared bathrooms. The place was barely a step above a hostel, but at least I would have a private sleeping room. It was the beginning of June. I hadn't seen James since the beginning of April. The clerk at the hotel was a young Indian man, unfailingly polite, with his shirt buttoned all the way up to the collar, but not wearing a tie. He explained what time breakfast was, apologized that the water pressure in the shower was not very good, and handed me a card with the Wi-Fi password on it. When I got up to my room, I found it was so small the door didn't open all the way, and I literally could not get in without crawling across the bed. The window was open, and I could see the towers of St. Pancras train station at the end of the block. I turned on my phone again and found the hotel's Wi-Fi signal. Well, that was one way to avoid huge roaming charges. I texted. I got called a slut and a whore for reporting sexual harassment at the hands of my thesis advisor, yet when I rode naked in the back of the limousine and screamed from orgasm as we drove through the streets, I was cherished and praised. I know which world I'd rather live in. The next morning, I made my way to Martindale's office, which was in an unassuming building a few blocks from the actual museum. Here's where I confess I told another lie. I had told Martindale I was coming for the job. It was true that I had jumped at the chance to see this major exhibit of 150 paintings and to get out of New York, but I had one more ulterior motive. I was there to pump him for information about James. Rumors were swirling through the Lord Lightning fan community that he was in England and that he might not be retired after all. If he was here, maybe I had a chance. And if Martindale knew anything, maybe that furthered my chances. I had to find out. I was in my best clothes, a cream-colored interview suit, rumpled from being crammed in my bag on a transatlantic flight. Martindale was polite and didn't mention the wrinkles. He sat behind a desk strewn with objets d'art, and I recognized a paperweight as James's work. I waited until we had gone through all the formalities and I'd given him the briefest sketch of how strife in the art history department had led to my leaving the university without my degree in hand. "You think you'll have it eventually?" he asked. "It's mostly a matter of paperwork," I said. At least, that was what I hoped. I may have to go back to defend if they'll let me. It's very political. "Well, I certainly understand how political both the art world and the university system can be. For what it's worth, I thought your doctoral dissertation to be top-notch. You wouldn't be here if I didn't." "Thank you." I blushed a little from the praise. "I have a favor to ask, though, if I could." "Of course, my dear. What is it?" "Our mutual friend, the man who introduced us, I've fallen out of touch with him. I would love to at least know how he's doing, if that's not too much to ask." Martindale folded his hands on his stomach. "Yes, the enigmatic J.B. Lester. Well, you know, he can be a bit of a recluse." "I know. He's been impossible to reach lately, and he owes me a piece." "Oh," I said, since I didn't know what else to say. He stared at his hands for a long moment. "It's funny you should ask about him today, as I did get a small package in this morning's post. It contained no letter, no explanation, just some photographs." "Photographs? You mean like actually printed on photo paper?" He barked with laughter. "Yes, dear, actual photos. Take a look."